a place wrapped in engineering might be far more advanced than we realize. This structure in Algeria that everyone assumed was just a fancy tomb, it's actually an incredible piece of sustainable technology that puts some of our modern solutions to shame.
That's fascinating. What kind of technology are we talking about here?
Well, it's this massive circular structure called the Royal Mausoleum of Mauritania, built around 30 BCE. And when you look closely at the engineering, it's mind-blowing. The design includes exactly 60 columns around the exterior, which perfectly aligns with our modern measurements of time: 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour.
So you're saying this wasn't just decorative architecture?
Not at all. Those columns were part of an incredibly sophisticated system. The structure has these precisely engineered air channels running through its dome, some narrow, others wider, creating a natural temperature regulation system through pressure differentials.
Hmm, that sounds surprisingly modern. How exactly did that work?
So here's the brilliant part. When air moves through the narrow channels in one direction and then through wider channels in the opposite direction, it creates pressure differences that naturally cool the interior spaces. We're talking about achieving below freezing temperatures without any mechanical refrigeration whatsoever.
That's incredible. But what would they need that kind of cooling for back then?
Well, look at the location. It's strategically placed on a hill surrounded by fertile agricultural land. They needed ways to preserve crops, dairy products, and other perishables. This wasn't just a building. It was essentially a massive, natural refrigeration unit serving the entire community.
You know what's really striking about this? We're still using similar principles in modern refrigeration, just with electricity instead of natural airflow.
Exactly right. And there's even more to it. The same pressure differential system that created the cooling effect was also used as a hydraulic pump. Since the structure sits on a hill above water-rich soil, they used those natural air pressure differences to create what was essentially an ancient water distribution system.
So they were basically running a sustainable cooling and irrigation system without any power source? That's remarkable engineering.
And here's what really gets me. When you look at modern refrigerators and air conditioners, they work on very similar principles of pressure differentials and heat exchange. These ancient engineers had figured this out over 2 millennia ago, yet somehow this knowledge was lost or deliberately obscured.
That raises an interesting question. Why has this interpretation been overlooked for so long?
Well, there's a complex historical context here. Early European archaeologists approached these North African sites with certain preconceptions. When they found monumental structures, they often defaulted to assuming they were tombs or religious monuments rather than examining their potential practical functions.
So you're suggesting there might have been some colonial bias in how these structures were interpreted?
Precisely. And that bias has persisted. But when you actually analyze the structure's design features, the engineering purpose becomes clear. For instance, those 60 columns weren't just for show. They were part of an astronomical observation system.
Tell me more about that astronomical aspect. How did that work?
So picture this. When you place a central pole on top of the dome, the shadows it casts across those precisely positioned columns create a sophisticated calendar system. They could track not just daily time, but seasonal changes, agricultural cycles, and even celestial movements.
That's fascinating how they integrated multiple functions into one structure.
And here's something else that's remarkable. Similar structures exist across North Africa, but many are still buried under sand and haven't been properly studied. We might be sitting on a gold mine of ancient technological knowledge that we haven't even begun to understand.
You know, this really challenges our assumptions about technological progress being linear, doesn't it?
Absolutely right. And it raises some important questions about sustainable technology. These ancient engineers created sophisticated cooling and water management systems using nothing but natural principles. No electricity, no fossil fuels, just clever use of physics and natural forces.
Do you think we could learn something from these ancient systems to help address modern sustainability challenges?
That's exactly what I've been thinking about. Imagine if we could adapt these principles for modern buildings. natural cooling systems that don't require massive energy inputs, water management systems that work with natural pressure differentials rather than against them.
It's almost like we've gone backwards in some ways, becoming more dependent on energy-intensive solutions when simpler ones might exist.
And here's the really exciting part. There are still unexplored aspects of this structure. The input text mentions that some of the doors were designed to respond to sound frequencies, suggesting there might be even more sophisticated engineering principles at work that we haven't yet discovered.
That's mind-blowing. It really makes you wonder what other ancient technologies we might be misinterpreting or overlooking entirely.
Looking ahead, I think this discovery challenges us to approach ancient sites with fresh eyes and better understanding of engineering principles. The answers to some of our modern challenges might have been sitting right in front of us for thousands of years.
So what you're saying is that sometimes the best path forward might actually be looking backward?
Exactly. And not just looking backward, but looking with the right perspective. These ancient engineers weren't just building monuments. They were creating sophisticated, sustainable solutions to universal human needs. Maybe it's time we started paying more attention to what they were trying to tell us.
And there you have it. A glimpse into the hidden layers of the Royal Mausoleum of Mauritania, a place that might just be more than a tomb. A coded structure whispering secrets from a lost world of sound, design, and forgotten science. If today's journey sparked something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with someone who loves mystery and ancient tech. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss a truth buried in time. And tap the bell icon if you're on YouTube. You'll want to be notified for what's coming next. Because next time, we're heading deep into the heart of Egypt to uncover what the pyramids were really built for. Not just tombs, but perhaps machines, codes, or something even more mind-bending. You've been listening to The Journey to Serenity. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and never stop questioning.